Welcome to Alabama Gristmill. This week we've got a good story about, a really interesting story about Connecticut County and some lost treasure in Connecticut County. And first I want to welcome my co-host, Donna Causey.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. I'm talking again about another little town in Alabama.
Yes, it's the town of Castleberry, Alabama, and it has been known for a strawberry festival, and it's a strawberry capital of the state.
Oh, and I love strawberries. They are my favorite, and it was actually named the capital strawberries in the state of Alabama by the governor. So,
yeah, way back in 1987.
1987,
And they, like we mentioned, they usually have the Castleberry Strawberry Festival around this time of year in the springtime. But this year, I believe it's not going to happen because I believe the people that ran it have pretty much retired, if my understanding. Could be wrong on that, I don't know, but they're looking for somebody else to take the reins and carry that forward.
No, it'd be a shame for it to die. It'd be nice if you're a volunteer and like to help them out. Get in touch with them in Castleberry. But like I said, this is a story that kind of is on Shipp's Pond, located between Castleberry and Brooklyn, Alabama. So you can go down there and see the area.
Well, before we get into our story about the lost treasure in Connecticut County, we want to always mention to support what we're doing here with the podcast. You can always go to the website, alabamapioneers.com, and click on the Become a Patron button. It helps us out. Everything goes directly to what we're doing with the podcast website, newsletters, things like that. Really appreciate that. And you can also send a donation just directly via PayPal. And there's a button there on the website as well for that.
That's just a donation, though. Remember that.
Yeah, it's just a one-time donation. It doesn't get you all the perks and the access that the patronage allows.
But it lets us know that you like what we're doing, so that helps us. That helps us a lot. That's kind of a nice thing about it when we get some supporters and people like that. It lets us know that you like what we're doing, so we'll keep on trying.
Yep, and we do appreciate it. I always appreciate our listeners out there and followers. But let's go ahead and get into the story and tell us about this lost treasure in Connecticut County and how it got there. Oh yeah,
it's a neat story. I happened to run across it in a newspaper article that was written in 1950 when I was looking for something else. It was written by Edley Franklin and published in the Bruton Standard and about the treasure and everything. But the legend states that during the year 1862, when the Civil War was being fought, many people buried gold in Shipp's Pond, located between Castleberry and Brooklyn. This area was first settled in 1817 by the Bagot family. A member of the Bagot family in Connecticut County was Jesse Bagot. He was born September 19, 1790 in North Carolina. So you can see how far back this goes. He served in the Georgia militia, and he moved to Jefferson County, Georgia, then on to Connecticut County at a very early date. He died in Connecticut in 1867. He and his wife, Zillah Goodwin, had the first white child born in Connecticut County, Alabama. So that's why I was mentioning him. The town of Castleberry was first called Wilson's Field until the Castleberry family came from Florida and settled there. And the name was changed to Castleberry because the old stage route from Pensacola to Montgomery passed through the settlement, and the stagecoach used to use the Castleberry residence as a relay house. And when the Mobile and Montgomery Railroad was built, they continued on with the name Castleberry. The first residence, another first that kind of went on, the first residence on the present site was built by Judge John Henderson, and it later became known as the Downing Home. If anybody from the area knows of the Downing Home, then that's the first residence that was built there. Other firsts included Judge Henderson. He was not only a judge, he was also the first merchant. J.B. Baird was the first postmaster. Dr. R.M. Murphy was the first physician. Professor McNeil was the first teacher. And R.B.L. Selman was the first Methodist preacher, and the first preacher of any kind there. The first schoolhouse was a church and a town hall as well, and it was just a log cabin. Among other early settlers were Holland, Beard, Matthew, and Garrett families. And so if you're members of those families and still live in the area, your family history dates back way into the beginning of the area of Castleberry. Castleberry was well known around 1900 as having the finest and most modern high school in the state of Alabama. And it was also the shipping point for large quantities of strawberries. So in 1987, the governor of Alabama declared Castleberry the strawberry capital of Alabama. But so that gives you a little history on Castleberry and what went on there. But let's go back to the legend of the Berry Goat, which we started off with. Between the old Evergreen and Castleberry Highway, 6 miles south of Evergreen, was a plantation named J. Villa. This area was originally settled by the Warrens, who are believed to be the great-grandparents of the late President Warren G. Harding. Of course, we don't have any proof. Couldn't find any proof that was really true. That might have been wishful thinking. But if anybody has any information on it, it would be that they are related to it. That would be great to add to the comments of this podcast. William B. Travis, hero of the Alamo, also lived in the same area in the 1820s. And there's a great story about him that we'll tell you one time. I'll share it in the future. David J. settled in Conecuh County about 1819 and operated a mill on Jay's Mill Creek. He later became a private banker and a very wealthy landowner. He gave an original grant and a lovely 2-story home to his son, the Reverend Andrew J., when he married Carolyn Ashley, the daughter of Captain Wilson Ashley. But sadly, the home was burned some years later over a political fight between the Populists and Democrats. So evidently, political fights used to get kind of vicious back then. It was located across the road from the old Jayville Commissary, which stood in the eastern part of Jayville Plantation. Reverend J gave the name Jayville to the territory surrounding his home, and he held several county offices and represented Conecuh County in the legislature for 2 terms. After retiring from the political arena, though, he was ordained into the Baptist ministry, and after the death of Reverend Alexander Travis, who was an uncle of William Travis, he became a pastor of the Old Beulah Baptist Church. The Hinchy Warren House on the east side of County Road 29, about a mile north of the junction with County Road 6 in Castleberry, was built originally in 1840. It was named J. Villa in the 20th century after the original J. Villa burned nearby. There's a picture of it on our website if you want to look at it. The Shipp Pond is a natural lake between Castleberry and Brooklyn, Alabama. And according to the newspaper article, someone told this story, and they were actually a witness to the scene. And here's how it goes. It's very poetic, so I think I'll just read it. It sounds very good. Sheets of gray clouds slid slowly beneath a quarter moon, making ghostly shadows across the still waters of the large pond, surrounded by a sloping ridge of virgin pine. Out of nowhere, a man driving a buggy appeared in the opening among the trees. Twisting and turning, he made his way between the pines down to the edge of the pond, and getting out of the buggy, he tied the horse. He then took a wooden box or a small chest from under the lap robe in the front of the buggy. He placed it on a billy, which was composed of 4 short logs, dogged together and tied there at the water's edge. Untying the billy, the man picked up a long pole lying on top of it and began shoving the raft out in the pond, keeping it headed straight toward a tall, dead pine that was skylighted on the other side. Halfway across the pond, the man stopped. He stood there for several minutes, looking in all directions, first toward the dead pine, then the direction from which he came, then to the opposite sides of the pond. Then he finally picked up the wooden box and lowered it into water beside the raft and dropped it. And he was overheard to have said, "Won't no blank Yankees ever find that gold money," the man said to himself, and he got in the buggy and drove back the way he came. And supposedly the man that they mentioned in this article was Hinchy Warren. He was owner of the Warren Plantation in Conecuh County, and he is buried on the old J. Villa Plantation, later owned by Thomas McMillan of Bruton. Now we looked at the date of the man that was buried, Hinchy Warren, on the plantation, and it appears that he died earlier, and that was Hinchy Warren Sr. A little more research revealed that there was another Hinchy Warren who was born September 30th, 1831 in Conecuh County, Alabama, and he died November the 1st, 1903 in Rankin County, Mississippi. So he probably is the man they're talking about in this article. And he never came back to the area. So that's the man who probably was the one in the story.
So you're saying there could be a chance the money is out there.
Yeah, one man bought the property hoping to find it. And supposedly he never found it. They say it's real muddy in the pond, and because people go out there fishing all the time, real muddy, and the treasure probably went into the mud and got covered up.
Deep into the mud and everything.
Yeah.
I'd probably be excavating that thing.
No, there's different people. There's funny stories about Shipp's Pond, so it's a good fishing place from what I understand anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. There could be some treasure located at the bottom of Shipp's Lake.
Yeah, there still could be. In fact, there may be in a lot of ponds in Alabama, people moved away and left it and didn't know where it was, or did know where it was, or didn't know anything about it. But people did that in the South a lot in the before the war, and when they heard the Yankees were coming, they would go out and hide it in different ponds.
But we're not encouraging going out and digging up on private
not if it's on private property. Be sure, you got to ask permission for you. If it's private property, be sure enough.
And I imagine the owners have looked pretty hard to
I think they have. If it hasn't been found by now, I doubt it will be found. These stories are neat, though. It's probably in the woods. I remember my mother used to talk about a story of some gold that was in the ground, had been buried in the ground somewhere, and now a parking lot's over it. So, things change over the years, sites change over the years, and you can't go digging up and destroying parking lots and things like that. But it happens. That's just the way it is. I guess it'll be there for posterity.
Oh, that is true, and but it's an interesting story to hear about the town of Castleberry. I mean, I know, like we said before, they used to have the Strawberry Festival, and that was a great event. And I know they are, like we mentioned, they're looking for some people to run that, and so hopefully some people can step up, because we'd hate to lose these small town festivals,
right?
Because they're such a great place to get the community together, a great place to share the art, food, and music, and all that.
It takes hard work to do all that, though, and you got to have some people
absolutely,
people that run them. After a while, it gets kind of old,
Well, it's all volunteer based.
It's volunteer basis, and you got to have some help. Money. So
exactly. So
if you want to help and get this going again, I mean, Castleberry's been known for Strawberry Festival for many, many years. It'd be nice to keep it going.
And I'm sure you can contact them down there. I believe they have a Facebook page for the festival. You can contact the people who did run it before. They can probably help you and get it running again. So
we don't want to lose the festival.
Don't want to lose that culture. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. The lost treasure in Conecuh County, and we'll have some more stories as usual this next week. And thanks for the listeners. We'll let Red Foley play us out. A little Alabama Jubilee.
We'll see you next time.
Joe dancing round on his toes, throws away his crutch and hollers, hey, let her go, oh honey, hey.